Hello, everybody. Welcome to our YouTube channel. Thank you for coming back and watching this episode. Um, this is Becoming a Mummy. If you're a first time visitor, thank you for visiting us. Don't forget to subscribe and turn on your notification bell. If you are a return visitor, thank you so much for coming back. We love you for it. And yeah, um, I'm Sue, and this is my co host, Louisa. And
Hi guys.
today we will be talking about our pregnancy journeys. We'll be talking about our pregnancy journeys. Louisa, how are you?
I'm alright. How are you?
Well, and super excited for this episode. For those of you who don't know what we do here, just go back to episode one. It'll tell you all about us and what we intend on doing with this channel.
And before you go on, let me
Um,
just say thank you so much to
so
the
let's
50
get,
subscribers because we did it. We got 50 subscribers
yes,
after the first episode.
we love you and thank you for making this a community. Like without you guys, we are, just two ladies blubbering on, but you make it what it is. So thank you so much for that. Um, Okay, so we're just gonna quickly dive right into it. Louisa is gonna tell us a little bit about her pregnancy journey and how she found out she was pregnant and when she found out she was pregnant. Over to you, Louisa.
Wow. Having to go back to the 9 months of last year. Oh my God, that was something else. So let's start from the beginning of how I found out I was pregnant. It's a very awkward, funny story. So it happened during a time when the COVID vaccination had just rolled out in Malawi. That was somewhere around March, April. I don't know why, but I get the dates wrong all the time. So I'm sorry if I'm getting the dates wrong now. Like my brain is fuzzy. It was around March, April, and they had rolled out the COVID-19 vaccines. I decided I was going to get a shot done because obviously in January 2021, a lot of people died in Malawi. And so, I just wanted that protection. So funny I say protection. Anyway, so, went for a COVID-19 vaccination, and I came home and I was happy. I had gotten the vaccination done, yay. But at the same time, um I was looking at Twitter, and a lot of people were talking about the side effects. So everyone was like, oh my God, these are the side effects I'm having, and yada yada yada. So at that point I was like, oh wow, okay, so there's a problem to this. I was like, okay, cool, who cares? A day after, I think actually on the same day, but like around evening hours, I started getting a bad fever. I was like, I already heard about this. I took my paracetamol and I went to bed. Early in the morning, there I am vomiting my guts out. And I'm like, I never saw anyone say there's vomiting as part of the side effect, but you never know. It reacts in our bodies differently. So probably my issue is vomiting. I went about my day. I told my mom and my partner. I was like, oh my God, I kept vomiting and whatnot. Like every time I eat something, I vomit. The vaccine really got me bad. The side effects are so bad. Yada yada yada. At that time, my partner is looking at me like, I never heard that one before. But I kept it rolling. So the second day is the same thing. I still have a fever. I have bad body aches. I'm vomiting like crazy. And I'm still telling my mom, like, oh my God, the vaccine is so bad. So my mom was like, oh, okay, cool. I'm going to get it done. I just pray I'm not vomiting like you are. She went and got a vaccination done, just had a fever, no body ache, no vomiting. So I'm there looking at myself like, what is wrong with my body? How is this old woman handling the vaccine way better than I am, you know? I was mad, but I kept it moving. I remember just telling my partner, I was like, I don't know what's going on. Like, I don't know why I'm vomiting this much. I don't know why my body aches as much. And I think it was on the third day, he was just like, this is not normal. Like, you need to get a. Oh, no, he kept saying you're pregnant. And I remember I would fight on the phone. I was like, no, I'm not pregnant. I don't know what you're talking about. I'm not pregnant. I'm fine, you know? And during the time, at the time I hadn't gotten my periods yet because I'm one of those people who would jump months. So if I have period like this month and next month, the other month I would jump. So to me it was okay. I was like, who cares? Like I don't care the fact that, like I'm not having my periods done. So yeah, he kept telling me I was pregnant, and that didn't sit well with me. I kept denying it. I was like, nope, I'm not pregnant. I don't think I'm pregnant, and that's not going to happen. But then, my mom was she was very worried because every day she would hear me vomit, and she was like, this is not right. What's going on? So I decided I was going to actually go to the doctors, you know. I went to the clinic, and as I was explaining to the doctor all the side effects I had gotten because of the vaccine, the more it started zoning in, like, wait, this actually does sound like I'm pregnant. Like, these are every things you take when you're pregnant. Because I was like, I'm vomiting every day. I have body aches. I can't really sleep well at night, but I'm also just always tired and whatnot. And you could see the little sneaky smile on the doctor's face as I was explaining, where she was just like, I don't know what you're talking about, but that sounds like you're pregnant, and that's a you problem.
Mm.
So, um, I told her I wanted blood work to be done. She was like, I don't think you need blood work. You need to give us your pee. And I was like, no, I just want the blood work done. She was like, fine. If you want the blood work done, give us your pee. That way we like clear out everything, and we're very sure this is what's not going on. So I ended up doing everything. I peed in the cup. I gave it to them, and the results came in. And as I'm looking at the results, it's like everything negative, negative. So Morelia negative, this negative, that negative. And then on pregnancy, it's written in bold and it's there positive. Oh my God. if I tell you, if I tell you I did not know what to think in that moment, oh Lord. So I remember calling my best friend and I was like, I am so pregnant. And she was like, what are you going to do? And I was like, I have no idea. I just know I'm pregnant, but I don't know what to think of it. I don't know what I want to think of it. And now, like, there were so many thoughts coming into my mind because I knew for sure I wasn't okay health wise when it came to a baby. So I've had a miscarriage before, so it wasn't something where I was like, oh, I'm pregnant, like, yay. But it came in, I had that thought where it was like,
It's
yeah,
not
like, what if I don't get to keep it, like, and it's not by choice, but like I miscarry again.
okay.
So it was one of the scariest moments of my life where I had that emotional roller coaster where I was like, I don't know if my body will keep this baby. Because they had told me the issues with my womb and how it was built up and why it couldn't contain a child. So during the time, yeah,
Why
so
it
during the
happened.
time, even like on that day, I explained to my doctor, I was like, the last time I didn't even know I was pregnant. I came to the hospital because I kept having my periods, and I was told that I was miscarrying. So this time around, I've gotten to know way faster. I just need to know if I'll be all right. If I decide to keep it, I need to know if my body can actually handle it. And so at the moment, she was like, we need to start checking on your uterus. We need to check your womb to see if it's actually ready and whatnot. And if it's not, we need to start giving you hormonal injections. So it was a roller coaster where I was like, this is not meant to be my decision alone. Like, Obviously my partner needs to know, he needs to decide what he wants for himself, and I need to decide what I want for myself, you know. So I went through that, and it was also a moment where I had to think of family. How are they going to take stuff? Are they going to be okay knowing that I'm pregnant? But also just looking at the culture, because in my culture, once you get pregnant out of wedlock, they marry you off, you know. Now, here's me who doesn't, I don't really believe in the marriage institution. I don't fancy it. And I felt sad knowing that I might be forced to, marry when I didn't want to, just because there was a baby involved. So there was a lot of things that was,
Yeah, we also um, some, something. Oh, I was just saying we also have something similar in our
yeah,
culture. Like if you get pregnant out of wedlock, they will kind of take the aunties and make you go stay by whoever, like. So I totally understand and get where you're coming
yeah.
from.
So that was like a moment for me where I was like, I want to, if I ever want to get married, I want it to be my decision. I don't want to be forced just because of what I'm pregnant. So it was a lot. I think the first few months of my pregnancy were the most emotionally draining months of my life. I have never experienced months like that where it was a lot of decisions being made, some being made for me, some that I had to make on my own, and then on the side having to go to the doctors and get the shots done by myself, because a lot of stuff during the early pregnancy I was doing it by myself. So I had to go to the hospital, get the shots done. It would give me headaches, it would give me body aches. There were moments where they were like, we can't really see if it's working, if it's not working. So it was emotionally draining. I remember just one time being in the doctor's room and just crying, and she just let me. She was like, let it all out. And I cried for the life of me. Oh my god, I'm actually getting emotional. But I cried for the life of me because I was like, I don't know if I really want to do this. Like, I feel like I am drained, and I don't know if this is the best environment for me to bring a child. But she was like, let it out and then have a clear mind and think about it. And as I was getting out of that hospital room, like in the doctor's room, that was the time when I was like, you know what? I think I want to do whatever I can to have this child. I don't care what anyone says. I don't care what anyone thinks I should do. This is what I want to do. So that was like my um stepping my foot down, like, this is what I've decided I'm going to do, and nobody's going to, like, shake me out of it. And that was it. So I had to see the acceptance for myself, like accepting myself that I was pregnant, but also just seeing people around me accepting the fact that I was pregnant. And that was beautiful because when you get that emotional support, I think that's when everything just zeroes in to, like, okay, so I'm good. And I feel like the best support I had at the time was my mom's. So my mom just saying, you know what, I don't care. Like, you're having a baby, I'm having a grandchild, and that's it. Like, our family is expanding, and that's it. Nobody has to make you cry. All we're going to concentrate on is you being happy and making sure that baby grows. And I must say that was like the best moment of my life, just seeing my mom embrace everything, you know?
Of my life.
So after that, it was an easy pregnancy, other than the fact that I vomited throughout my pregnancy. So I vomited from the first day until the last day of my pregnancy. It was crazy. It was so crazy. But I vomited the whole 9 months, you know. And other than just, feet swelling up because of blood pressure and whatnot, I feel like I had one of the easiest pregnancies than what other people tell me when they tell me their experiences with their pregnancies. I'm like, wait, I feel like mine was easier, But I was huge. I was carrying heavy. I didn't gain much weight, but I was carrying heavy. Every weight I gained was on my stomach. So my pregnancy was that the trimesters were perfect. Now, if I tell you the best moment of my pregnancy, it would probably be the first time a baby kicked. Like when you, no, I'm torn between, I'm
I
torn though,
did.
between hearing the first heartbeat and the baby kicking. I feel like those were the perfect moments of my pregnancy. But like when the baby kicks for the first time and you hear that flutter in your stomach, you're like, wait, I actually have a human being growing. Like, it's so awesome, you know? It made me cry, and oh my god, I'm about to cry. But when my baby kicked for the first time, that was like the best moment of my life. I had never had one of those just pure happiness. Like it makes me happy now, but I'm like, wait, you made me the first time you made me happy was when you kicked, and I knew you were fine, you know. Um, and the worst moment of my pregnancy, I would say during the 8th month. I went for my routine checkup. So they were looking at me now. They didn't scan me during the time, but they were just the hearing thing they put in the ear, and then they roll it around your belly. I don't know if you've ever had that before, but they were doing that and they were checking the position of the baby. So they told me, they were like, wait, the baby is well positioned for labor. So he had already turned. They felt the head, yada yada. They were like, all is well. And then they check and they're like, wait, hold up. We can feel another head right at the top of your tummy and not at the bottom. Now I'm like, you already said my baby turned. What do you mean you're feeding another head? Like, yeah. Are you having one child or you're having two? Now, by the way, mind you, I was carrying heavy. So it was easy for me to even be like, maybe I am carrying two. So they're like, we need you to have a checkup done immediately. I was with my best friend at the time. She had escorted me to the hospital. I went outside of the hospital. I told her, I said, oh, something crazy just happened. They say I might be having two babies. She's like, and they're only telling you at 8 months. And that's when it zoned in. I was like, how am I going to start preparing for another child at the 8th month? I remember just calling my mom. I'm like, Mom, they say I might have two babies. I might be carrying two babies. Now I'm going for a scan. This woman said, I don't care where you are, come pick me up. I'm taking you to the hospital myself. And I was like, yes, mom. So we went to the hospital. She's almost in tears because she's like, how are we going to be able to handle two? And how are we just finding out at the last minute? We went for a checkup, they did a scan done, and they were like, no, your baby just has a big butt. And I was like, what? What do you mean he has a big butt? They're like, yeah, it's not two babies. Your baby is all right. It's just he has a big bum. Like they were touching a bum. They were not touching his head. His head is well positioned. They were touching a bum. And that was the time when he was like, it's a he. And we hadn't known the gender of the baby because I didn't want to know. So he told me, I was like, it's a he. And I was like, oh, so it's a boy. My mom went from crying to dancing around the hospital and relating like everywhere. She was like, "Oh my god, I'm having a grandson." And in our culture, like if it's a grandson, then automatically the baby is referred to as the husband of the grandmother. So she was like, "Oh my god, I'm finally having a husband. I'm having a boy in my house and whatnot." So that was
We
like
all,
it was a bittersweet moment.
you know, that is like the most hilarious pregnancy story I've ever heard. Like, wow.
But you tell me about
Okay.
yours.
So, was it, before we get to that, I just wanted to ask you. You said this happened at 8 months. So, how was going to the hospital for you? Like, did you go the full 9 months? And how was that part?
So 9 months passed and there was no labor. And I was getting annoyed because it was hot. I don't know if you remember last year's summer, but it was hot. And I remember just telling I told my mom,
was
I was like,
hard.
no, I can't do this anymore. I can't carry this anymore. After like 9 months in 1 week, I was like, I can't do this anymore. I'm done. Like I have to go to the hospital. I need to get induced or something. So we went to the hospital. um I had asked my aunt, I was like, it's been a week, no labor, nothing. And she's like, no, that's all right, it's normal. I was like, no, it's not. I don't think it's normal. I don't want it to be normal. So I remember she just told me, she was like, come to the hospital, we'll have the doctors check you. And I went there. Um, they did another scan and they were like, yeah, the baby is too big. Like, we're afraid for you to go to labor like this because we might have to extend way too long. And at first I was like, please do. Like, I don't care, just induce me or whatever. And then they're like, wait, but your baby's head is slightly bent. So he kind of was in the position for labor, but his head was slightly like this, Like it wasn't like that. It was like this.
The side
Yeah, it wasn't straight. It was just slightly bent
straight.
like that. So they were like,
Mm.
this would be hard to like get him to position his head straight to the canal. So even if we induce you and he doesn't position himself right, we might have to go for a C-section. And after thinking about it, I was like, I don't want to go through labor pains.
Mm.
I don't want to, feel like my life is getting out of my body just for them to tell me, hey, this is not working. Let's go to the theater room. So I was like, you know what? I'll take the theater. I don't care what anyone thinks. I'll take the theater. So I got the station for a C-section the next day. So I had to go back home because when I was going to the hospital that time, I wasn't well prepared. But so I had to go back home to prep myself. Um, we went back to the hospital as early as 6 a.m. I think we were there slightly before 6. So we got there, and it's COVID time, so they have to check everything they have before you get in the hospital. We were outside waiting for them to check me, like COVID, whatnot, yada yada, for like an hour. So I was there before 6 and I only got to the hospital at 7. Now I'm pregnant.
Mm-hmm.
I easily get annoyed. I had been told your C-section is going to happen at 8, so you have to be here 2 hours before, like at the maternity ward. Now I'm there being late outside. I was annoyed, but at the same time, I can't say anything because my mom was like, "No, this is a day of giving birth. You don't want to like talk and bring bad energy into the situation. So just breathe." I was breathing through
Work your
everything and I was like, no, I'm tired. It's hot. I'm tired. My body is not, I remember getting to a point where I was telling my mom, I was like, I really just want to remove everything. Like every clothing would bother me. And she was like, you can't remove everything in public. I was like, I'm tired. I'm that hot. I can't do this. So anyway, like at 7, they got us in, and yeah, as in that was my getting. Now I don't want to like say too much because I know we're going to do a birth story. So I'd rather my birth story start from this point because it elaborates well what happened moments before I went to the theater room. So if you could just tell us about your
Yeah.
pregnancy journey.
Yeah.
So Sue, just tell us about your pregnancy
Ah.
journey.
Okay. Wow. So for me, I don't know what I expected, to be honest, because well, it was bound to happen. But yeah, I was one of those people who couldn't keep track of my menstrual days. So I had this Flow app on my phone. And according to the Flow app, I was late. I think I was a week late when I first thought, could this be it?
Yeah.
Because I don't know. I don't know why. I don't even know why I thought that. And then a couple of days later, I thought I am late sometimes, but it wasn't like 5 days late or something like that. It was never anything huge. So I even remember, I think it was on a Thursday or on a Friday when I was thinking, I think I'm late, like I'm a couple of days late. So I thought, okay, let's wait for a few days. And then we went past the weekend and it was the following week. And I said to my husband, just buy this thing. I wasn't even convinced. I was just like, like, I'm late. Let's buy it. Let's see. And then I tested it and it came out positive. I, like, do you ever do something and, like you just doing it for the sake of doing it? Not that I knew that was going to be the outcome was anything like that. I was shocked. I was like, what's this? Like, what's going on? I was shocked. And then I was like, okay, this is what's going on. And then a couple of days after that, or the next day or something like that, that's when I started having this feeling like, like I'm gonna be a mom. I was scared. I don't want to lie. Like I'm growing a whole human being, and this human being is going to be, like looking up to me for the rest of its life and for the rest of my life. I'm now, responsible for this person, and
It is
it's
scary.
scared me. But then I didn't have a long to be scared. I was scared. I don't want to lie. Like every time I used to think about it, even now, if I think about it, it scares me. Like, you know, this whole person, and it's for the rest of both of our lives. Like once it's done, I can remember I was telling someone that once it's done, it's done. You can't go back and say I'm unmothering now. You can't. You know, once it's done, it's for life. A lot of people don't realize like it's a really big thing. We say it all the time, we see it all the time, but it's like a huge step. You're like responsible for this. And another thing is like, um, you, I felt very confused. Like I don't really know myself that well. Like I don't even know you. Like I
Yeah.
haven't figured things out. So how am I going to be figuring things out for this other person?
I remember my best friend just
Kind of.
saying, "This is a baby having a
And
baby."
so
Because every single time I'm like, "I'm still a child." And she's like, "Yeah, you're a child having a child."
exactly, that's honestly how I felt. Like I really felt that. And so I had this thought, I was scared, but I also had felt kind of safe because I wasn't doing it alone. I was obviously with my partner, and I knew that, like, oh, we are going through this together. So it kind of gave me some sort of um, security, but we were both figuring things out, like
Yeah.
I'm gonna be a parent kind of thing. And so it was that. So when I found out I was pregnant, I think I was 4 weeks pregnant. I found out very early. So I think about a week after that, I got sick. It was so ridiculous. Like I was sick my whole pregnancy. Like I vomited from I think 5 or 6 weeks up until literally the
So we
day I
have the
went
same
into
thing in
hospital. I was
common.
vomiting, and I was sick. Like the first trimester was horrible. Yes. First trimester was bad. I couldn't even keep water down. I remember there were days where I would just maybe have one banana the whole day. It was bad. It was horrible. And I remember at one point my mother-in-law was like, I've never seen anything like this. I've never seen anybody get this sick because they were pregnant. And I used to vomit
Yeah,
bile.
same
You know
thing.
that yellow stuff? I used to
Same
vomit it
thing.
every
And
day,
often it happened when
every
I
day.
was brushing my teeth. I
And
don't know
then
if that was your case,
that was my first trimester.
but like as you're brushing your teeth, that's when you'd get like,
No, for me, I just had to put anything. So it didn't matter if it was water, and people were like, eat oranges, and oranges didn't work. People were like, eat ginger biscuits, get all these things. I tried. I tried everything. I don't want to lie to you. It was so bad. And nothing worked. None of all those home remedy stuff, I don't even believe in it anymore because nothing worked. Even the medication that they gave me at the doctor did not work. Like, they'll give me this medication and I would still vomit after drinking the medication. So for me, you know, nothing worked. And then we got to trimester two. When it got to trimester two, I was now more experienced. So I'd wake up in the morning, I'd put my fingers in my mouth, make myself vomit the bile before I ate anything. So this thing, I have it out, and then I can start eating. So it was getting better, but I was still vomiting. And then um yeah, and I was just sick. Like, I remember at one point, I didn't tell a lot of people I was pregnant. Even like my sister, I think I was like 4 months pregnant when the first time I video called her. So we were talking, but then one of my sisters hadn't seen me, and then she was like, "You are so thin, what happened to you? Are you sick?" I was like, "No, I'm fine." She was like, "No, this is not what you look like." Like,
Yeah.
my bones here were showing, like they were stuck out, and she was like, "No, and your like your cheeks, they're like falling in. What's going on?" I was like, "I'm pregnant." She was like, "Oh, what kind of pregnancy is this?" Like, it was bad. It was really bad. But then by the end of the second trimester, things were getting better. I was able to like keep a couple of meals in, and I think I was 6 months pregnant when we went and did my second ultrasound. So when I did the first one in the first trimester to like confirm I was pregnant, this thing was like tiny. I think a bean is even big. It was like a little hole that they were showing me, and they were like, "This is your baby." I was like, "What baby?" So small. I wish I had the ultrasounds with me so I could show you. Um, and then when we went the second time, she was like bigger. So this is when we did the gender reveal thing, and they were like, "Do you want to know what baby it is?" And we said yes, and then they told us it was a girl. And then they were like, "But sometimes the boys hide, so we're telling you it's a girl, but we're not
Jeez.
sure." And I was like, "To God," because I wanted a girl. From the time I found out I was pregnant, I want a girl. For some reason, I just thought a boy would be, I don't know. So I just wanted a girl. So when they say this, I was so happy because I was planning for a girl. But then I always had this thing at the back of my mind that they say boys
Yeah.
hide. So maybe, like, I'm gonna go into labor and find out that it was a boy. So so we did that. I was so smitten. Like, I remember looking at the ultrasound, and they were like, "This is the feet, those are the hands, that's the head, and that's the nose." I remember, I remember the doctor doing that. Like, I couldn't stop smiling. I was so happy. But then, like you said, I think the kicks, like, I even had phantom kicks after I had my baby, and that, I think, is like
It
the
is.
best
It
feeling ever. You
really
can never
is.
replicate that. Like, that, I, I that is the best. And then for me, what happened? We got to the third trimester. The third trimester, like, I was still making myself vomit and all of that because if I ate without doing this thing in the morning, then like, it was a whole thing, and I would get sick. I'll start feeling like, I don't know. So I just figured out that it was best to just make myself vomit in the morning. And then so it was, I wouldn't say it was the best pregnancies or it was an easy pregnancy. It was not. And I gained a lot of weight. I think my normal weight was around 65 to 70. I got to 100. I remember because I
What?
haven't lost much since then.
Are you serious?
It's like, yeah, it's almost 3 years now, and I've tried everything, and like, I just got to a point where I'm like, this is my new body. I
You
need to be happy
gained
in it. You know, like
40 kgs.
if I'm doing anything, I'm doing it because I want to be
Oh my
fit.
God.
Yeah, I gained a lot, and much most most of it I gained mid trimester 2 to 3. Because for the most part, like people were even scared for me. I was like so thin that most of it, nobody had ever seen me that thin. It was like I've never been that small in my life. Well, I have been because obviously you grow for somewhere, but
Yeah.
it's been years, 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 like more than 10 years from the time I looked like. So yeah, I gained a lot, and it stayed. It was like the baby came out, and I think well took her weight with her, but then most of it stuck. Like it came back, and I'm almost back there, like
That's the
there.
same thing with me
It stuck,
because
and
it's the
anyway,
same thing
that's
with
a
me
story
because
for another
before I
day.
got pregnant, I would weigh somewhere around 54, 55. And then during my pregnancy, I got all the way to around 68. And then after I had Evan, it dropped. I went back to 55, but now I'm slowly gaining weight, and now I'm somewhere around 60 or 61, you know. But I'm very scared to like get to the 67, 68, cuz
Yeah, it's like
you know, but the weight is not proportioning well on my body. I I needed to proportion well, you know. But then
it never does. It
But I
never
just want
does.
to ask you one question. What were like the craziest food, like
Mm.
what were your cravings like? What would you crave the most during your pregnancy?
Okay, so especially I had cravings, especially like I think beginning of trimester 2 is when like it really, really hit. And I craved weird
Uh-huh.
things. I craved things from home. So we have, I don't know if you guys have this, it's called
Yep.
maheu. It's like a drink that you make from
Yes.
pap. You know, like when you make porridge
Yes.
from pap and then it's that. I craved that. And I also craved maputi. Maputi is like corn and they pop it like
Uh-huh.
popcorn, but it's made from maize. I also craved that. I craved porridge, millie meal porridge with I would put the weirdest things. So mine had peanut butter, it had lemon, it had milk, and it
Lemon
had
and milk
bread.
added together
So
or like separately?
if I miss
Okay. All
any one
right.
of those
I
things,
was scared for you.
in, no, in the same, it's like it's like porridge, like porridge from when you're making pap and then it starts. I don't know. I
Yeah.
don't know if you can call it boiling. But before you put in the final millimil to make it pop, take it off the stove when it's like that, when it's just like boiled a little bit, and then you take it off, and then that's when you add all of these things. Like I used to love that. My husband used to think I was crazy, but I loved it. And I also craved it's it's a freezer. It's like
Yeah,
juice, but
freezes.
then it's frozen. I don't
Yeah.
know if you guys also have that. Yeah, it's like frozen, but I craved that. And sweets. I used to want sweets all the time, and at the weirdest of times. Like sometimes we'd leave the house like 9 o'clock, and I'm trying to find sweets somewhere. So yeah, I think those are the things that I used to that I used to crave a lot. Like now, now talking about it now,
It's
it's like
bizarre when we talk
weird
about
and
these
all,
things.
but it made
Yeah.
sense in the moment. It
Because I
made
remember
sense.
my cravings were weird as well. My cravings were
It
very
made
weird
sense.
because
So,
I think mine also
what
started
did you?
kicking in from the second trimester. I think that's when, like, because usually when you're starting the second trimester, your body settling, and whatnot. And I had also just gotten done with my shots, so I didn't have the vile taste in my mouth and whatnot. So now, like, I could eat properly. I remember I went through a diet of having, we call it nsima. I think you guys call it pop that side. Is it no? Is it you guys, or is it in Nigeria? I don't know. But I would eat a lot on sima. I would eat it in the morning, in the afternoon, and at night. So it was breakfast, lunch, and supper. And I would love it with okra.
You
Yeah,
know something? Can I just pop in? When in my culture, ne, when you eat things like that, like the way you saying you're eating, they
that's
will
what
tell you
everyone would
it's
tell
a
me.
boy. Like literally, those are the signs. If
That's what
it's
every
not
woman
fine,
would tell me.
then yeah.
My mom's
So
friends would come at my house and
we
they'll see what I'm eating.
you're verifying for us.
Yeah. Yeah, oh, I thought you were
Can you
saying
hear
something.
me?
Because I was saying my mom's friends would come to my house every single time. And then they'll look at what I'm eating and just be
Oh,
like, yeah, you're carrying a boy. And I'd be like, how do you know that, like, you're having sima and okra at 6 a.m. in the morning? It shows. And I was like, I don't care. This is what I'm craving. I remember I'd be at work, and there was a day when I had ordered
yeah,
rice and okra, like the runny okra, not like any other, but the runny one, and dried
yeah,
fish. And my colleague looked at me eat all that, and he was like, and you enjoy that? And I was like, this tastes like heaven. I am so happy to have this. And during that time, he looked at me like, and I remember the exact words he said. He was just like, pregnancy, yeah? Even the most beautiful of girls, they will get down dirty with pregnancy. And I was like, I don't care what you're saying. I shall eat what I'm craving. And he was just like, you're carrying a boy. And I'm like, how do you know? He's like, you're eating all the weirdest stuff you can get. I didn't like anything sweet. I liked salty stuff, like something salty, you know? So that was an indicative enough that I was having a boy, just so you know.
yeah. That is like completely is. It really, really is. So yeah. Oh, I was talking about my yeah. So it was my pregnancy was like very very eventful in that I was so sick, like so sick. I always tell people that like this thing
It
it's
is.
overrated. I was so sick. But then um so my best moment I think I already told you, but my worst moment I also delivered late like you. Um, I think I was my due date was it was actually on my due date, and one of my cousins had visited me, well not me, visited my aunt and my uncle who I was staying with, because like in my culture when it's your first child, they do like a ceremony thing and they have to send you back to your family so that like you have support and all of that since it's your first child. So I was staying with my mother's brother and his wife, and one of my cousins who is the daughter of my other uncle, my other mother's brother. Well, not my other mother, my mother's other brother. My mother's other brother. Wow, English is not, it's not. Just know that. But anyway, so yeah, so she had visited and we were sharing a bedroom. And on my due date, which was the 13th or the 15th of October, she was like, "When are you due?" And I was like, I'm due today." And then she was like, no, something's wrong, because the way I was like big now, I was huge. And she was like, the way you're so big, by now, like, you shouldn't be able to sleep through the night, and you shouldn't be able to sleep like I used to sleep. I used to love sleep. Well, I love sleeping in general. It's like not because of pregnancy thing. I sleep a lot, and when I sleep, like, I'm dead. I'm I'm a heavy sleeper. So she was like, you shouldn't be sleeping the way that you're sleeping. Like, you should be fidgeting, like feeling uncomfortable. You should be waking up and going to the bathroom. So I don't think everything is right, like, go get checked. So I called my husband and I told him like what my aunt and my cousin were saying, because she's like, she's my cousin, but she's much older than me. And then so he came, he picked me up, we went to find a doctor, and we went to see this doctor, and this doctor was like, your child is bridged. So she was
Yeah.
not like this, she was like this. No,
So
she was like
her
this,
head
but her
was
head
right
was
on top
here
of the tummy
and the
instead
feet
of
were
down.
here. So
She wasn't in the
yeah,
pelvic. She wasn't
she
in the
wasn't,
pelvic
yes, she wasn't
thingy yet.
ready to. No,
Yeah.
no, she was like high up. So now, because they told me this, I went to my birth clinic, where I was supposed to go give birth. I told them that I went to a doctor. This is what the doctor said. The doctor had written a letter for me, and they were like, um, we don't deliver babies who are like that. Like, this is like a natural, no complications birth center. So once you have any sort of irregularity, we cannot help you give birth. So you need to go to the hospital. That day was like a lot of runarounds. So we went to the hospital, and then the hospital was like, today is a Saturday, so we don't admit people on a Saturday. Come back on Monday, you know, when there's doctors and things, and then they'll admit you if they need to. So we went back home, and on the Monday, I went to the hospital, and then I went there. They were supposed to scan me so they can see what's going on. And then we got there, and the scan machine was broken, and they only do this on Mondays. So the doctor was like, "Ah, you are exactly 40 weeks, so you still have time. It doesn't hurt to wait another week. So come back the following Monday." I was like, okay, cool. And then I went home, and then I came back the following Monday, and they scanned me, and they were like, your baby is fine. Like, the head is where it's supposed to be. So between this 1 week, the baby had turned. So I was like, oh, yay, everything is fine. So I'm going to go back home and wait for labor. And they were like, no, you're overdue. You're like a week over. So we can't send you home. We have to take you to theater, because like, waiting any longer, the baby might die or
Yeah.
suffocate. Babies are not supposed to get to week 42 while still in the womb. So I was like, okay, they admitted me, and this was on a Monday. And me being me, I was at a state hospital, and I thought, they're gonna take me, do the thing, and I'm gonna leave today or tomorrow, kind of thing. And it was not the case. It was not the case. I was there for a week, I think. So I know we're gonna do that story like you previously mentioned. So I'm just gonna leave it here, and then when we do the next episode, we can pick it up from there. But yeah, it was,
This has
you
been
know.
fun. Just talking about our pregnancies.
So um, it has been, it really has been. And like, remembering some of the things that I'd forgotten, because life, and like, just going through the process again. But I want to ask you random things, maybe three random things that I'm just gonna ask you, and you can give me quick answers too. So the first thing, what is the one thing that you didn't know about
Everything.
pregnancy that you learned during your pregnancy? Oh, I actually feel the same. I actually feel the same. Like I almost the whole 9 months, I was like, why didn't I know about this? Why
It's the
wasn't
fact
I
that I
told?
didn't know
Like,
anything about pregnancy
what
or
is going
anything other
on?
than the fact that as a woman, I have the ability to grow a child in my womb. That made me decide I wanted to start sharing stories around pregnancies and motherhood. So I didn't know anything. So yeah.
Yay for you for doing that. Like, honestly, it's needed. It is needed. Okay, so second thing, um, what? Okay, I don't want to say worst because we already. Okay, what was your scariest um moment? Let me No, let's scratch that because I think you already answered that. What was your partner's reaction to the news?
Indifferent. He felt like he already knew I was pregnant. So it was I know.
Okay, and then what other pregnancy question should I ask you? What myths do you think are like? Did you experience any myths? If you did, like how was that? And then if you didn't, what things did people tell you that you were like, this is rubbish? Like, why are you? Like, people tell you certain things and you have certain expectations, and then you go through it and you're like,
You
rubbish.
know,
This is
I
like
have I
nonsense.
have been told so many things. I was told so many things when I was pregnant. Things I should do, things I should not do. Um and the things that I have no proof, you know. So one of the things I was told was never stand on the doorway, like right on the door, on the middle of the door, you know, because your child would then be barren. So I have no proof over that. That's just something that I, you know, um, but I'm human, so these are things that sometimes I would forget. Um, I was there were things old wife tells about, you know, things I was eating, just to know about the gender. Things like when your partner and you are, you know, fighting over the course of your pregnancy, it's a boy. And then weird enough, that kind of was true. Like my partner and I were not in the best moments of our lives at the time. We kept having issues. It was crazy. But, you know, like things like that, there's some where I go, oh, okay, cool. And then there's some where I'm like, really? So I don't have any proof over them. I don't like discrediting things that I don't, you
Can
know,
I
I
say?
don't have actual proof of. So I wouldn't want to discredit things that I was told because I feel like they're not right, you know. There are reasons why the beliefs and whatnot. So I respect that. And there were things that I would follow to the like, you know. But the one thing that I stuck with, the one thing they advised me was not to be too loud about my pregnancy, and I feel like that contributed to the reason why I never wanted to tell anyone. Not because my pregnancy was already high risk, but the fact that sometimes some people that you tell will sometimes give you bad energy, and I just felt like I didn't want that for myself. So that one thing resonated with me, where I was
Yeah,
just like, I don't want to tell people, I don't want it to be known, so I'll keep it to myself and the few people that I trust until when I actually have
don't
the
have.
babies. Yeah.
Yeah, I totally get. You said something about fighting with your partner, and I was laughing because um, I have forgotten. But my my partner used to have the smell. There was it's and the thing is, as soon as I gave birth, it's, you know, it was never there before I was pregnant. And then we used to fight. I always used to tell him, mm-mm, move. But then it was
Yeah.
gone as soon as I gave birth. It was gone. So for us, it wasn't really that. That was like the one thing I used to have issue with, and I it was smells. At one point, I remember I used to put baby powder on because that's the only thing that would. I used to put it all over him, all over our bedding, all over, like, it was so ridiculous. At one point, it was so bad. Like, I used to walk around with this baby powder bottle, and I would, um, like, just press on it so that the powder goes poof, and then I would go smell it. And there's these little pink sweets. I don't know if you have them. They're like
Don't think so.
roundish and they're so tiny. Um, what are they called? Um, if I get a picture of them, I'll show you. It's like little roundish sweets. And when I was in Zim, we actually used to have red poison that looked like the sweets. And a lot of well, at one point some children ate them because they were thinking it's sweets when it was actually red poison. But those sweets, they used to smell so nice to me. Wow. Like, I don't even know, it was it was ridiculous. I would buy them, and I would open one, and when I ate it, it felt like I was eating the smell, and it just smelled so good. And I used to keep them by my nose, and the baby powder used to smell like that. And I just remember that when you
Yeah.
spoke about fighting with, with your partner. But it was ridiculous. For me, one of the things that I heard was like, if you do your hair, well, that I actually, somebody in the hospital told me, and they were like, you're not, you're taking so long to give birth because you did your hair. So it's like tying your womb or something. And then we also had a tale of sitting by the door, like if you sit on, and I used to love to do that. And they're like, your baby won't come out. And then also, if you jump a broom, then your baby won't come out. And what, eggs? They said if you eat a lot of eggs, then the baby's hair is gonna be like flowy, like white people's hair. And it was a lot of things. And then cold things, they also used to say, like, don't eat cold things because you are going to feel this when you give birth, like you're going to get really cold. They're like, these people are so like crazy, because I used to love cold things. Like, I could literally drink like a 2 liter of juice, but it had to be really, really cold juice. And that's the one
Yeah.
thing I can attest to. I felt it when I when I gave birth. You don't want to know. After birth, it was, I don't even know how to explain it. I've never been so cold in my life. I've never been so cold. And they used to say, like, it stays in your stomach. You're gonna feel it. And I was like, this is crazy. Like, how am I gonna feel the cold of something that I'm drinking now, 6 months from now, or 3 months from now? This is totally crazy. But I felt it. So for me, that's the one thing that was confirmed. It happened. So next time, I know, don't drink cold things.
Well, I guess we've come to the end of the podcast. This has been amazing just to, like, go back to our 9 months of carrying those little humans that have made this platform, available to us to be able to share our journeys and whatnot.
That make little
Yes,
humans that make
as
us
in
mummies.
they're precious, but like before they come into the world, there's so many precious things that we go through and so many hurtful things that also come with it. But it prepares us for what's coming, and I feel like that's what we have to treasure the most. Um, Other than just the life after being moms and whatnot. So this has been awesome. You know, any last words, Sue, before we close?
Um, yeah, it's different for everyone. I just want to stress that it's different for everyone. Just because we were vomiting the whole time does not mean you
Other
will.
people have the
So don't be
simplest of
scared. Don't
pregnancies.
feel don't feel like, like you're gonna be vomiting. Exactly. Like I know of a woman who, like, she literally goes into labor in the morning, 2 3 hours,
Yeah.
she's done and dusted. Tomorrow she'll be home. Like, she doesn't do labor, and all natural. So, the stories are different for everyone. So I just wanted to stress on that. Do not fear because of this. This is just us sharing our experiences, so you kind of know what to expect. And if it does go that way, you know that it's totally normal. It happens to everybody. So yeah, and thank you if you're still with us after so long. Thank you for watching this. Thank you for staying with us, and like our social
Yes.
media pages, subscribe, tell your friends
And
to
if
tell
you're a
their friends.
woman who's
Come
been
watch
pregnant before
us.
and you relate to our stories, comment in the comment section below. Like, let us know what your experience was like. If you've had a simpler pregnancy, also let us know. We want to know how much of a God's favorite you are. Like, yeah, we're saying that you are God's favorite. We're not, obviously. But let us know your own pregnancy journeys. Would love to read them all. Thank you to everyone who commented on the last video. It was nice to hear your feedback. And hopefully, we get to reach 100 subscribers soon. So don't forget to subscribe, like Sue said. And we'll see you in the next episode where we'll be talking about our bed stories and everything that happened, the nitty gritties of being in the hospital while having a baby. So don't wait. Come back next time. Bye, guys.